And as women, there's like a fear around weights.
I let my health deteriorate to a point that I was truly afraid I was going to die of a heart attack or stroke at a very young age with 3 small children. That was my wake-up call.
Ditch the fear and pick up the weights. Unlock your strength and your health now. So many women are still skipping strength training, and it is costing us big time. Skipping weights means slower metabolism, weaker bones, and missing out on real confidence because lifting really changes everything. Hey guys, if you're new here, I'm Amy Lawson, a registered dietitian who helps you feel good, feel well, and ditch the diet rules. And I am super excited today to be joined by my friend, Sandi Griffin, who is a powerhouse trainer, and she has the experience to help women get stronger inside and out. So Sandi, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I tell everybody I became a personal trainer by accident. So I never intended to have this career, never was athletic in my life. It wasn't until I let my health deteriorate to a point that I was truly afraid I was going to die of a heart attack or stroke at a very young age with 3 small children. That was my wake-up call. And I started just making small changes, got led into the sport of bodybuilding, kind of coerced a little bit. My husband created that monster. And through my transformation, just knowing how much strength and confidence that I gained and that I could accomplish goals that I never imagined possible, that led me to my career where I wanted to help other men and women discover the same things about themselves.
That's amazing. Your story is amazing, and we are going to get to Sandi's story in more detail in a little bit. But today, we're going to start out with busting the myths about weight training. As a dietitian, I hear several, and I know you hear them all the time. Let's go into our myths first. The first one, and I want you to hit this one first, lifting makes you bulky.
I could have $1 for every time I heard it. I wouldn't have to work anymore.
You wouldn't be sitting here.
I would not be sitting here doing this podcast. No. And it's funny. I always think to myself, gosh, if you know the secret, please tell me. Please,
bodybuilder.
I need a little bit more muscle right here. Like, tell me how you get bulky. And it's just scientifically impossible for women. And if women understand the physiology of the body, genetics play a huge role in that. We are all designed very uniquely and very beautifully in our own way, but also we as women are estrogen dominant. Estrogen does not build muscle. Testosterone does. And we do have testosterone. Every woman has testosterone in their body.
Another myth too. Yeah. I think that we maybe don't, but we do.
It's just different than men. And men obviously have higher testosterone levels, and they do have estrogen as well, but their estrogen is a lot lower. So that means that for us to put on lean mass, we have to work twice as hard as men, typically.
Good point. Yeah. So just by casually going to the gym a few times and lifting some weights, you're not going to end up with big, bulky muscles. And I will say for myself, this year, I just turned 40. I need to emphasize the weights. And I mean, I started in January. It's May, and my arms are not huge. They are way stronger, but there's no bulk happening anywhere. And that's with like deliberate, intentional weight training 3 times a week. So that myth is just...
And just to put it in perspective, when I began, I didn't know the difference between a barbell and a dumbbell. I had no knowledge of the gym whatsoever. It was a very intimidating and scary place for me. And you always worry about, people are going to judge me, people are going to look at me. And I know we're going to get into that later too, but it took me 10 solid years of 24/7. Like, I lifted 5 to 6 days a week. My nutrition was on point 24/7, even off season, not in competition preparation. And in 10 years, I put on 20 pounds of lean mass, changed my body composition quite a bit. But that was 24/7 for 10 years. And I was lifting heavy. That's, when you break that down, that's 2 pounds of lean mass a year.
A year, right.
This weighs about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. So you're putting on a little, and when you talk about your percentage of lean mass versus your body weight, take a 150 pound female, 2 pounds is not very noticeable. It takes a long time for you to do that, and more than 3 days a week, and more than just here and there and everything else. So it takes a very, very long time to get that lean mass to where it's what somebody might consider bulky. Like
Right.
most women did not like, they would never aspire to look like what I did when I was competing. And I totally understand that. But it doesn't come easy.
That's the biggest myth, that once I start lifting weights, I'm going to have these. And I think people usually think arms and have these huge arms or shoulders, and it's just not the case. So let's go to that second one you mentioned. I don't know what to do at the gym. The gym is a majorly intimidating place. And that is something I hear all the time. So what do you say to clients who come to you or maybe interested in personal training who just don't know where to start or what to do?
The first thing is the gym is for everyone. It's for teenagers, it's for seniors, it's for persons with special needs, disabilities, it's for men, it's for women, it's for people looking to get to that next level of athleticism. It's for the person like me that had no idea what she was doing and I just need to get started. And most people, I think the biggest misconception is that people are staring at you, people are judging you, people are looking at you like, what is she doing here? Or what is he doing here? And it's not like that at all. In fact, if you go around and interview people in the gym, and I've done this, I've taken classes, I've taken a group of women to the gym to show them fundamental exercises, and we'll walk into the dumbbell area. And I will stop for just a second and be like, let me just go talk to this gentleman. I have no idea who they are. And I went over to this group of gentlemen that were working out. There were 3 of them. And I said, can I just ask you a really quick question? If one of these ladies came over and said, I really want to try the 20-pound dumbbells, but I'm not sure if I can. Can you help me? Would you judge them? Would you tell them no? Would you laugh at them? Would you would you demean them in any way? And they're like, of course not. We want people to like do their best in here. We would love to help somebody get to that next level. All 3 of them.
I love it.
But our face in the gym, when we're focused, everybody calls it RBF face.
Yep.
It can be intimidating, especially in you've got this great big muscly guy and you're this, I was 50 pounds overweight when I started in the gym. So I'm this 5'3", 50-pound overweight,
It's intimidating.
It can be a little scary,
Mhm.
but, the gym is for everyone. And there is no such thing as girl exercises and boy exercises. There's no such thing. Women have just as much right to be in a squat rack, on the leg press, bench press. Machines aren't for women and free weights aren't for men. That's absolutely the furthest things from the truth. And people are there to support and help you.
That's the biggest thing we have to change in our minds. No one is judging you. Honestly, we're just worried about ourselves at the gym. Or getting to our reps or getting enough time in to finish the workout. No one's looking at other people and judging. And that's our culture anyway. We're worried about ourselves. No one.
And the person that you think is judging you is probably watching you to think, oh, they're probably looking at me going, I'm lifting too light. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're probably thinking the exact same you're thinking. They're not judging you. They're thinking you're judging them. And it's this weird conundrum that we get ourselves into. And I think social media is probably one of the places where that, you have all these, Instagram influencers that are filming themselves and showing off, they're scantily clad or whatever, guys taking their shirts off and flexing in the gym. And I think that small population of people that do that kind of give gyms a bad rap. And I think that's really grown over the years, with social media and the influencer space. But most of the neighborhood gyms, they're just not like that. They're just not.
They're not. We were at the gym here in our neighborhood yesterday, and it's a mix of men and women. And there's one guy who's always filming himself, but you're like, that's his jam, and and he's not bothering anybody else. So trust us, no one is judging you at the gym. Honestly, they're just worried about themselves, and that's the truth. Another myth: the myth that I will get injured if I start lifting weights.
Yes, that's a very common caution, I would say. I don't know that it's a fear. Maybe some people are fearful, especially if they've been hurt before. And I equate it to if you've ever gone skiing and you don't start off on the blues and blacks, you start off on the bunny hill. So allow your body a little time to adjust. If you've never lifted before, Give yourself a solid month of just doing the movement. Don't worry about the weight yet. That'll come later. Give yourself some time. Resistance training is a long game. It's not a short game. It's not like yoga where you complete a workout in an hour and you're good. It's you complete a workout, but you need to allow your body time to adjust your ligaments and tendons along with the muscle. So start off really slow. Learn the movement before you worry about the weight. Just get the movement, know what muscle groups you're working, know what it's supposed to feel like, look like, what it's not supposed to look like or feel like. Make sure you know the muscle group that you're trying to target. So, and put your hand on it. Like if you're doing an RDL, am I engaging my hamstrings? Can I feel my hamstrings?
When I first did them, I'm like, am I doing this right? And so luckily I have Devin to help me. But that's such a great point. Like if you don't know what you're doing, you're intimidated, you're worried that you're going to hurt yourself, seek out a professional. Yeah. Most gyms have personal trainers.
They do.
Or you have a personal trainer who runs her own thing, which is awesome, just like Sandi, but they're the experts.
And there's somebody in the gym that would love to help you. Women tend to, and this is very stereotypical, and it's not true across the board, but it tends to be women will not lift heavy because they want to use good form. Men will lift heavy and not necessarily use proper form because they want to get strong. They want the numbers. Women tend to like overthink things and then just be like, I just want to lift 50-pound dumbbells for my bicep curls today. And the problem with that is women will use great form, but they typically don't do compound movements, which are not necessarily doing any benefit to your body. If you're just doing curls with 5-pound dumbbells, that's a single joint movement. It's just your bicep. You're not actually working your body per se versus like a squat. And there's so many different forms of squats. It does not have to be in the rack with a bunch of weights on it. It can be a body weight squat. It can be a wall squat with a ball. It can be a Smith machine squat. It can be so many different ways to do it. But with a squat, you're engaging your core, your lower back muscles, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes. Now you're working your body in one movement. But women tend to use really great form with just bicep curls or some, or they only want to work their glutes. Well, that's good, but then you cause these imbalances. So just staying injury free, you want to start with your basic fundamental compound movements. Something for the chest, something for the back, something for the legs, something for the core.
Love that. So think about those 4 areas.
Your shoulders, bis, and tris, and glutes and all, they'll get worked with all those big compound movements. You'll be much stronger. You're going to burn more calories. You're going to develop more lean mass doing those movements and others. But I do recommend watching videos and make sure you get a reliable source because there's so much misinformation on YouTube and Instagram. Find someone that's a physical therapist to show you how to do a squat. Get somebody that's a reputable, or hire a coach, hire a trainer, get somebody that can teach you. And it doesn't have to be more than one session. Just have them. I need you to teach me 3 fundamental movements that I can begin with. And that can usually be done in half an hour to 45 minutes easily. And that way you're not out a ton of money. You're not, roped into months of whatever.
If you don't click with the person, you had your session, you get the info and you move on. And so many gyms give you that free first session with a trainer when you join.
Yeah, but don't be afraid to ask for help. That's probably the second biggest thing.
I think that stems with the fear and the kind of just lack of confidence that so many women and men can have in the gym. We don't know what to do. We don't want to look stupid, so we don't want to ask.
But think if somebody came and asked you a question, would you think, oh, they're dumb? We don't think that of other people. We enjoy sharing our knowledge and enjoy helping people. Give another person that opportunity because they would love to help you.
So when I worked at the gym in New York, I remember asking, so this was when I was in college, like 21 or something, and asking one of the trainers, I want to work on my love handles. And so then he had me doing like holding a weight and doing some side bends. And it was like, well, this doesn't feel good. It's only working one little area. And so I just gave up on that and went back to really the fundamentals that I knew, which was pretty basic, but I felt better with that in general.
Well, and that brings up another myth, and I don't know if it's on our list to talk about, but the other myth with is that you can spot reduce. People doing these side bends, first of all, there's 2 things wrong with that. And that goes back to my comment about know what muscle group you're doing with the movement that you're actually performing. So when people hold a weight plate in their hand and they do this movement.
That was me. And then I was like, this hurts.
Right. So everybody thinks they're working their obliques or their love handles,
Yes,
and they're going to,
yes.
just because they're working that muscle, that fat right there is going to disappear. False.
Our body doesn't work like that.
Your body is going to, you might do that exercise, you're burning calories in general, but your first place most women lose weight is here to here. Face and boobies.
Face and boobs. The boobs go, yeah. We wish it was maybe like here to here, but
Because of our estrogen dominance, the last place we lose weight is belly button to mid thigh. And then it kind of, and
so
everybody's body is so different. So that may not fit the mold for every person. But with spot reduction, that's a huge myth. You can do a million crunches. You're going to have really strong abs. You're still going to have belly fat. You're still going to have visceral fat. You just have to lose weight in general. And that includes nutrition, cardio, and resistance training and activity. But that movement that you're doing, or I did it backwards. That is actually not working your abs as much as people think it is. It's actually working a very deep muscle called the quadratus lumborum. And it inserts inside the hip, inside your pelvic bowl, inside there, and attaches to the very lowest piece of your spine. So it's responsible for spinal flexion.
which makes sense when you say that, but then
And most people do not have a weak QL. They have a very tight QL.
I could see that. Yeah.
So you're not doing what you think you're doing in any way, shape, or form. You're not strengthening your abs, and you're not going to lose that love handle.
You can't just say, okay, I want these gone, so I'm going to do this specific move. Okay, now let's get into why strength training is really non-negotiable for women. And I want everyone watching this to really take this in and understand the health benefits beyond just looking good in the mirror, which is important, but it goes so far beyond that. Metabolism and strength training really go hand in hand. Is that something that you experienced as you built muscle?
The more muscle I had, the more food I could eat. And who doesn't want that?
Who doesn't want that?
Yeah. When you carry lean muscle mass, which has blood flow versus fat mass, which doesn't, you're burning more calories just to maintain that muscle mass because your body knows it's going to be utilized and it's going to have to work. So your body has to feed it, which means you're burning calories, which means you have to eat more to make sure you can sustain your muscle mass and have the energy and lose weight and do all the things.
It's a cycle that feeds itself in a beneficial way. And you said it right there. Like the most metabolically active is our muscle mass. We can lose up to 8% of our muscle mass per decade if we don't do anything to intervene. And it just kind of compounds every single decade. To change your body composition, we need to be lifting those weights. So metabolic health is one. Another one is bone health. And this is really big for women. I'm big on this. 1 in 2 women over 50 will break a bone because of osteoporosis. That's 1 in 2. And it doesn't mean that like they were super active and broke their arm because they were skiing. It can be you just tripped on a curb, you tripped on carpet and you fell. And it's usually our hips. There's specific bones that hit different women. I worked in long-term care before I started my private practice. And I can't tell you how many older women were there because of a broken hip or because of a fall. And when you're dealing with osteoporosis, our bones are more brittle and you're just more susceptible.
Yeah. And to put your stat in perspective, I'm 52. And that's not old.
No, it's not.
But another friend of mine who's 50, one of us is going to break a bone. I assure you it's not me. I assure you it's not me. I'm still lifting. I am still very, very strong. But I've worked very hard for that. And in fact, I just had a DEXA scan done. And it was fantastic. And if you've never had a DEXA done, that's one of the most accurate portrayals of lean mass, fat mass, visceral fat, bone density that you can have done, accurate, I believe, to 1%. The scale is only one part of the story. Measurements, mirrors, clothes size is only one part of the story. Having a DEXA done will give you a real solid look of what's going on in your body, specifically your bone density. And I was in the 90 something percentile for being 52 years old.
That is amazing.
I don't want to have broken bones when I don't want to be having a hip replacement because I slipped and fell in my house on the stairs. I want to live a very strong, vibrant, healthy life. And so that's a priority for me.
And it's never too late to start. I know we're going to get to that later, but you can start when you're 52. You can start when you're 25. You can start when you're 70 and still reap the benefits. Because weight bearing exercises actually slow our bone loss. And that's something that I don't think we talk about enough, or I don't think people really realize.
Yeah. And it's not just about taking calcium or drinking milk.
Yes.
There's a lot more involved to your bone mass than just, vitamins and supplements and eating good. Resistance training is pivotal in that.
Yeah. And calcium and exercise do go hand in hand. I know some people get concerned that if they're doing like super high intense exercise, they're depleting some of their calcium. Well, my dietitian take on that is to eat calcium rich foods, but get your levels checked. That's a simple go to your doctor, have your blood work done, see where you are. Calcium rich foods aren't just milk. That's what we think of first. That's
Broccoli.
yes, dark leafy greens. Exactly.
Yes.
I love that you brought up broccoli. Broccoli, dark leafy greens. So whether it's spinach or whether it's kale or whatever that you really like, cruciferous veggies in general are going to do that for you. And broccoli and cruciferous veggies and dark leafy greens have kinds of other wonderful benefits for you.
Inflammatory properties with sulforaphane and all kinds of stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's also found in milk, and it's fortified in milk, but also found in cheese and yogurt, tofu, other fortified things as well. Well, let's go on to the next benefit, longevity. And I pulled a statistic that I think might kind of shock and impress everyone, but that 90 minutes of strength training per week can potentially extend your life by 4 years. Just 90 minutes of strength training a week isn't that much when you've spread it out over 7 days. And if that can extend your life by 4 years, so it's actually less than 15 minutes a day. And it can have that incredible benefit. And it's all tied to our chromosomes and lengthening the telomeres on the end of our DNA. And that's how they analyzed it in this study, which was super cool. But also longevity in terms of like your independence as you age. Can you tell us about are you working with people who are a wide range of ages, and how does that work for them in terms of like functional movement?
Oh, absolutely. It was kind of funny. The beginning of my career was a lot of, young military members and their families. And when I say young, I'm sorry, 40 and younger. I still act like a 12-year-old. So I'm young too, even though I'm 52. But
I know, what age do we
I know, like age is just a really number. But since I've moved to Colorado about 5 years ago and really started seeing a lot more of the population versus just military and families, I've had the pleasure and opportunity to work with cancer patients, double hip replacements, neurological disorders, someone that because they didn't have strong lean muscle mass slipped and fell and had had a massive concussion and 5 subsequent concussions after, because it affects the balance. The concussion, affected the balance as well. And these are all people in their young 60s to mid 70s. And I will tell you, one of my current clients that I'm working with is just outstanding. He's had a rare form of cancer for 12 years. They can't cure it, but they can keep it at bay. But he does chemotherapy infusions 3 out of 4 weeks a month. And that just
He works out with you.
that wrecks his body. I mean, it takes a lot out of you. If anybody's ever had chemotherapy, I have not, thank God. But he wants to travel with his wife overseas once a year. And he knows that in order to do that, he has to be as strong as he can. And so I work with him,
Amazing.
twice a week. We work on balance. We work on just fundamental movements, getting up out of a chair,
Mhm.
a squat.
Yes, that's when I have my clients do. Have them do a chair squat. And some people can and some people can't, but then they have that chair so that if you can't, it's there to brace yourself.
And one of my gals, she had her second, she came to me right after she was cleared for exercise after her first hip replacement. Then she had a second hip replacement. 3 weeks later, she was back in my gym, and we had to modify. We have to be responsible with that recovery. But that's what I specialize in, is injury prevention and recovery. And she was just crushing it. And she walked in with this great attitude. Let's go. And we did. And it's amazing. There is no, like you mentioned earlier, there is no too late.
Right,
You can
there's
start
limits.
whenever, and you just start small, and before you know it, you're looking back and you're like, that used to be hard for me. and I could do this now. Like, it's crazy.
And we really need that encouragement. And sometimes that can be a trainer, it can be a dietitian. Sometimes it's a spouse. Sometimes the spouse can be negative, especially in nutrition. That one's a little bit complicated, but someone to push us and to encourage us towards our goals is really important. I think back to when I started this goal of doing weights this year, and I was working out with Devin, and he's military. So, they're very laser focused. But he really helped me and encouraged me to lift more, way more than I thought I could.
Well, those giant plates are scary.
And sometimes you see the weights and you're like, there's no way I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you get in there and you're like, I can. And then in terms of longevity, in older people who become frail and haven't been keeping up with themselves and weights and nutrition, it just compounds and they go from healthy to injured to sarcopenia to really frail.
Yes.
And I think we all really want to avoid that as much as possible. I hope that all these tips and this info has you feeling motivated. And if you're ready to start some strength training, drop a muscle emoji down in the comments. So that brings us to the benefits of strength and mental health. So talking about military life, like mental health is so important. I would love to hear your perspective on that and your stories on it.
How I kind of got into my specialty, I was a trainer at Longview Regional Medical Center, and I had the opportunity to work with a lot of the physicians there. They were my clients, and which really freaked me out as a trainer. I'm like, you're a doctor. And I'm just a trainer.
But you're the expert. You're the expert in your field.
In that realm,
Exactly.
because doctors, especially primary care, they get a little bit of, a lot of the little things and then, kind of general. So I established such a great relationship with some of these physicians and also a reputation with them. And I was invited to be part of a team of practitioners that really embraced and understood and wanted to promote whole person health, because it started during the war or shortly after, and we still had lots of our service members deployed and special forces. And they were coming back, they were getting fixed, bones weren't broken anymore, stitches got taken out, but they were cleared to be out of the hospital, but they weren't quite ready to return to duty because of TBIs, PTSD, chronic pain from their injury. Their injury was no longer present, but the pain still was. And this team of practitioners and physicians got together and said, we need to do better. And they really embraced everything, all 7 pillars of wellness. It was sleep, hydration, nutrition, mental health, mobility. Of course, there was ortho, physical therapy, and then there was a chronic pain management clinic that helped to deal with that pain that's there, but the injury isn't, but your body still thinks it is, because pain is very real.
Yeah.
And then I was invited to be at the tail end of the program as the strength and conditioning coach.
That is amazing. That is my dream of what healthcare should be. This full 360 of personalized health, where each practitioner is talking to each other and it's all for the benefit of the patient.
And working together as a team. Yeah. But through that process, what happens is you build confidence. You're confident that you know that you're eating well. You're confident that you can say, I'm not okay, and you can talk to somebody. You're confident that I can lift that weight and I know that this is okay. And I know I'm doing it safely. I know I'm not going to hurt myself. In my journey, it was a little bit different because I didn't have any physical trauma per se, but I knew nothing. You don't know what you don't know. And when I discovered that, like I said, I didn't know the difference between a dumbbell and a barbell when I first walked in the gym. But once I got in and started losing weight in a safe and healthy manner, and I was learning that I'm pretty dang strong for a girl, And once you know how strong you are, you can't unknow that. Once you know that I was able to do, 40-pound dumbbells on bench press, you don't go in the next day and forget that.
You're not going back down. Yeah.
You're like, I did, maybe I can do 45 today, and then your confidence builds, but it's not just confidence in the gym. I was confident as a human being. I started to learn to love myself. I started to learn that I am capable. I can achieve things that most people don't try. And that radiated into every other aspect of my life, in my relationships with my friends and my family, and my ability as a trainer, my relationships professionally and personally. then I had this newfound confidence that I never had before. And when we talk about, everybody knows that being active, not just in the gym, but going out for walks, going for hikes, taking your kids out for a bike ride, doing whatever is so good for our mental health. And the two really tie together.
They do. They do so much. And so the benefits of strength training tie to our mental health in the same way that nutrition can be beneficial for our mental health as well. There's studies that people who eat the most ultra processed foods have the lowest mental health. They're dealing with the most anxiety or depression. And so, like you said, once you start with the weights or start somewhere, building up your confidence also builds up your mental health. And I know you work with a group here, and I want to share what you're doing with the Colorado Springs Health and Fitness Expo and how that all ties to mental health, if you'll share that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. Thank you. When we moved here in 2019, I was super excited to be in the state of Colorado. It's Olympic City, USA. I've worked with some Olympic athletes. I've worked with special forces. Obviously, we have Fort Carson with 10th Group Special Forces. And it was just a dream to be in one of the top healthiest states in the nation. We're ranked number 5 in the nation for top healthiest states. But after just a few years of being here, I also learned that we're number 7 for suicide. And the county that we live in, El Paso County, carries the burden of those numbers. And it actually doesn't include our active duty military numbers. Those are in addition. We are, however, a very large veteran community. And of course, being a military spouse, that's a no-brainer. Like, we know. And we've lost too many friends. Yeah, we've lost too many friends. But just knowing how my mental health changed just as a human being, just in general, and how important that was and how life-changing that was for me, I set out on a mission like we need to do better. And so we started the Colorado Springs Health and Fitness Expo in 2023. This year, we took a year off because we needed to we were growing the event. We needed to do some planning. This year will be our second year. Our foundation is mental health. We are a Better Business Bureau accredited business, and we're also verified as a purpose-driven business, meaning we give 100% of our admission proceeds to Pikes Peak suicide prevention. And we also do an all-day blood drive because we're trying to save lives as many ways as we can. So, and we want people of any fitness level.
I was part of the expo the first year, and I still work with one of the women that I met at that event. And actually, we're going to do a cooking class together next week. Love it.
I love that.
Love her.
I love that. And our goal is because it's a mental health focus, it doesn't matter where you're starting. We want to surround you, support you. We want to make sure you know you are seen and heard. And we want you to leave more than just with free swag. We want you to leave with resources and education and hope and inspiration. We want you to walk out the doors going, let's do this.
Okay, so the Colorado Springs Health and Fitness Expo is August 23rd, and tell everyone where it is.
It's at the Great Wolf Lodge, and the time is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Amazing. So it's all day. There's no excuses. You've got to go.
We've got speakers, we've got workshops. We're doing Narcan training for the community so you can save a life from opioid overdose. We're doing CPR training. We've got QPR training for mental health. We've got pickleball courts. There's something for everybody.
Cool. So August 23rd, if you were in the Colorado Springs area or Denver or anywhere close by, come check it out. And also check out the website.
Yeah, it's cosfitnessexpo.com.
So even if you aren't here locally, check it out. Sandi is the amazing mastermind behind all of this. And she's so passionate about just helping everyone be their healthiest selves. It's amazing for this community, and we want to spread the word on it. Okay, well, that leads us into your story. Would you like to share your story and what brought you to the point of being ready to make changes?
We moved to Germany in 2002, and my husband prior to that had been gone in Korea for a year by himself. It was a remote tour. So I was raising 3 small children by myself when we moved to Germany. My youngest was 3, my oldest was not yet 6. And then we have 3 children. So the middle one was like 4.5. And that first year was really hard. I was super excited to go to Germany, but the weather was much like Seattle, and we had just come from Arizona. So that lack of sunlight was a little challenging with the seasonal affective disorder. And the amazing food, even though it's really great. There's a lot of like really high fat foods,
Heavy.
Yeah.
Germans are not heavy people because they're
active. Exactly. And I was not. So like I was just a stay-home mom. I was typical. I wasn't overweight. I wasn't underweight. I was just kind of normal, I guess is what you would say. But that first year was really hard, and I just got really distracted. My bad habit was I would get up in the morning, drink coffee until noon, which really satiated my appetite. But then come lunchtime, I was starving, and I didn't know how to eat healthy. None of that information was quite prevalent at that point in time. So I was making my kids chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese and grilled cheese and fish sticks and tater tots.
All normal stuff. This is all normal stuff.
And I would feed my kids their lunch, but I would eat all the rest because I was starving. And then I would be fine until dinner, 6 hours later. But we would go out to dinner most weekends because it was delicious and new and exciting. And I was eating heavy pasta with garlic bread with cheese and drinking wine and having dessert. So I wasn't necessarily eating beyond my calories, but what I was eating and how I was eating and the portion size I was eating at one time destroyed my health. And in the first year, I gained 30 pounds and I just kept gaining weight. And at one point, I just quit weighing myself. I had gotten up to 175 pounds and I just quit weighing myself because I was too embarrassed. And my wake up call was I had developed high blood pressure, but I wasn't doing anything active and I just kind of ignored it. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. I was pre-diabetic, so my A1C numbers were incredibly elevated, and that was due to lifestyle, nothing else. And at the age of 33, I had to have my gallbladder removed. The markers for that are female, fat, 40, and fertile. But I was 33. So I was on the fast track to just destroying my health.
So on the fast track to diabetes.
Absolutely. And one of my really close friends at the time, she was 7 years older than me. She was 40. We were very similar, very sedentary, 50 pounds overweight, high blood pressure that wasn't being treated, elevated A1Cs. And she ended up having a brain aneurysm and almost died. And her husband called me to be at the hospital that night with him because they didn't think she was going to make it. And she did, but she's severely handicapped. She's a beautiful woman. She's amazing. I thought that's going to be me in another few years. And my 3 children are going to have to take care of me and I'm going to be a burden to my family.
Oh my gosh. This gives me chills.
And I'm like, I haven't done anything to help myself or to do better. And so that was my turning point. And then just a few months later, I actually tore my ACL in a skiing accident. But blessing in disguise, the rehab sent me to the gym.
Nice.
So I had to be in the gym to strengthen my knee because I didn't want to do surgery. And after a short period of time, I'm like, I'm kind of liking this. And my legs are looking good, feeling good, and it just kind of went from there. My husband talked me into doing a bodybuilding show. And
so was Griff a bodybuilder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He had competed once and or twice. And he's like, you should do the show I did last year. And that's how I learned about accountability because he started telling all of our friends that I was going to do it. And
so then you're like,
and then I didn't know that, but when my friends started coming up to me and going, hey, I want to go watch your show. I'm like, oh, and I'm too prideful to quit. So I just kept going. But then it was a lot of learning. I still made a lot of mistakes. You take 2 steps forward and you take another step back. My first coach starved me. I didn't understand how to fuel my body properly and how to manage being competition ready and being in a healthy off-season state. And the bulking and cutting is another myth. And that's another story for another day.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But I had to learn a lot about nutrition. And I just kind of took it upon myself as a responsibility to keep my body healthy. I got into the sport to be healthy. I wanted to remain healthy. And so I just I asked a lot of questions. I talked to a lot of people. I did a lot of research. And yes, I made a ton of mistakes, but that made me who I am and the trainer. And I've been able to manage my weight for the last 15 years, so it's since 2008. So
amazing. I hope Sandi's story inspires everyone out there.
Little tiny changes.
Small changes, big results.
Think of a raindrop in a lake. Those ripples will get to the shore. It may take a little bit more time, but start small, just start simple, learn, educate yourself. Because again, once you know something, you can't unknow it. And just start small.
And you brought up nutrition. So I want to talk about the post-workout nutrition piece of all this, because if you're strength training and then you're not feeling properly, which you brought up your example of your one coach not feeling you properly, you can feel depleted and just feel not great at all. And one of the myths I hear all the time is about carbs. After my workout, I just need my protein. That is one I just really wish would go away. So when we think about when we're doing intense exercise, and this isn't like, oh, I went for like a little leisurely 50-minute walk. I need refuel. No, this is you went and did something intentional and worked out with your weights and you're breaking down your muscle and you need to build it back up. So when we do intense exercise, our body uses up our glucose that's circulating. That's our fuel. And then after that, it's going to go to our storage and so on and so forth. So when we refuel, carbs and protein is so important. And we have that magic window to refuel after a workout, usually within 2 hours of a workout. But there's some research that says for women, it should be closer to 30 minutes. So I always tell people, keep that 30 minutes after a workout in mind. And that could be you finished your workout at 4:45 and you're having dinner at 5:15 and you have your meal. And that works. Your meal can work. But if not, you can have your refuel snack. So Sandi, what is your favorite carb and protein combo?
Yeah, I'm going to back up just a quick little bit to reiterate about the carbs. A lot of people don't understand when you lift weights, what you're doing, you're not building anything.
Yeah, this is really important.
You are destroying that muscle tissue. You're shredding it like little micro tears in the muscle tissue. So you've got this raw, broken down, shredded tissue. If you want to like have that thing in your head, protein's only going to go so far. You have to have both. Your car can't run on gasoline alone. It has to have oil too.
Yeah.
You know, because you can have gasoline, but your engine's not going to turn unless you have the oil.
Yes, right. So if we just refuel with protein, guess what? Our body still needs to replenish all the glucose it just used up. So then it can actually go into our muscles and start breaking it down even further to release glucose there. We don't want that.
Yeah, and you have to rebuild that muscle tissue in order to get more lean mass. So if you're working out hard and you're not fueling with both protein and good carbs, you're spinning your wheels. You're just not going to get the results you think you are. But to answer your question, I love eggs. Eggs are my favorite. They're very bioavailable, which means your body can digest them very easily. They're very versatile. You can do all kinds of things with eggs. And so when I'm in a hurry and sometimes I finish my workout and I've only got just a few minutes before my client gets there and I need to train them, I'll just scramble a couple of eggs. I might put some veggies if I have some veggies cut up, from dinner the night before in there. And I'll have like a sprouted grain, like Dave's Killer Bread is amazing. I love Dave's Killer Bread. And then I'll have maybe like a half a banana. So some simple carbs to get that glucose replenished a little faster, the more complex carbs to kind of sustain my energy and go a little bit longer, and then some good solid protein with some fat. Fat is important as well.
Fat is important too.
And I love avocado. So sometimes I'll do egg whites with avocado, but if I don't have avocado, I'll just leave the egg yolk in there.
That's perfect. So that's that nice balance. We want to aim for 20 to 40 grams of carbohydrates paired with that protein. So other options I love some Greek yogurt with some berries and some granola. Another similar one that I love that's simple, hard-boiled eggs that have pre-made. And then we make our own whole wheat sourdough bread, which is sitting over there.
It's beautiful loaf.
But I'll take the bread, avocado spread on top, sliced up the hard-boiled eggs, a little everything bagel seasoning on top. It's perfect. It's everything in one little package. But that's what's going to replenish and build that muscle back up instead of feeling depleted. There was a big study that showed that we burn more fat if we exercise when we're fasting. And I kind of don't like that study because then it gets in our minds that I need to work out fasted because then I'll burn more fat. And it thinks we go back to that targeted area. Oh, I'll burn my love handles if I do that.
Part of that myth too, because that was a big thing in the bodybuilding when it was like really prevalent that you do fasted cardio, like bodybuilders are all about fasted cardio. Mm-hmm. The problem with that is the numbers. They skew the numbers. They don't tell you the whole picture. You might burn more fat fasted, but you're going to burn less calories overall because your energy level's down. You're not working at the intensity that you could. So yes, you might burn, and it's kind of like the fat burning zone on cardio, keeping your heart rate really low and doing like an hour and a half. Yes, you're burning more fat calories per se, but your total calories, and it's not that much significant difference than if you were to be fueled and work out with a little bit more intensity for a little bit less time.
And wouldn't you rather work out with more intensity
for less time?
And you feel better.
Get me off the treadmill.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. Which ties back to our mental health.
Yeah. Well, and it releases dopamine. It gives you so much energy. It just puts a different spin on your day. And you've already accomplished something. That's the biggest thing. If I don't get anything else accomplished or my day goes to crap, the rest of the day, something bad, I got this accomplished and I feel really good about it. And that's at least something positive you could be grateful for in your day.
Okay, now that we've talked about the myths. We've talked about the benefits of nutrition and the benefits for strength training for our overall health. How do we get started? So let's talk about that, ways to just start. Like we said, start right now today. What are your biggest tips?
Biggest tips is just start small. It could be as simple as just go tour a local gym and ask the front desk or ask a trainer, can you just show me around? Just get familiar with where you want to work out, whether that's home or a fitness facility or with a personal trainer in a private facility. Just get familiar with it so that it's not that intimidating to go work out and you don't know anything. Just go take a walk around, get a tour of where you're going to be. From there, start with a very simple, basic program. Don't do the exercise of the week on the latest Instagram video.
Don't do the WOD. Yeah.
Just don't start off with this massive CrossFit workout. Just start with basic fundamental movements, an exercise for chest, an exercise for back, an exercise for legs. And just start slowly. You don't want to wreck your body. Don't go in and crush it your first workout.
And then feel miserable.
Exactly.
And so sore that you don't want to go back.
Exactly. Try the movement out. Wait till the next day and see how your body feels. If your body feels good, like it should be like, I did something yesterday. But if your body feels good and everything's good, keep going. If something doesn't feel right, then ask for help. Like talk to somebody, talk to a trainer, talk to somebody that's been in the gym a lot. Hey, I did this exercise and this is kind of bothering me. Do you have any suggestions on how I can modify that movement? Don't go in and push through pain. That's the biggest thing too. Listen to your body, make sure you're fueled properly and make sure you sleep good and hydrate and all the things.
Yeah. And I think we're capable of so much more than we think. I know you like to say how much your groceries weigh.
Yeah, this is my favorite example is, I'll brand new clients, I'll be like, what are you comfortable starting with? Because I always ask a lot of questions to make sure that I'm not pushing somebody over their brink, and they're like, oh, probably the 5-pound dumbbells for bicep curls. And I'm like, girl, when you unload groceries from your car, do you carry in one bag at a time?
No.
And they're like, no, I carry them as many as I can. I'm like,
loading.
and how much do you think that bag weighs as you're carrying it inside your house?
Okay. So I knew that Sandi likes to share that story. So we have my Thrive Nutrition RDN tote bag, which you can get on my website. But this bag is about 20 pounds right now. But this is like what we load up from the grocery store with. And it's going usually like in the crook of our arm or on our shoulder. And if you can carry this in from the grocery store, then you can certainly do it in the gym.
Absolutely. Think about, and the other context I use is with younger moms. When you carry a toddler in your arm, how much does your toddler weigh? When you pick up that car seat with your infant and you curl that off the ground and you lift it into your car, like how much do you think your bicep can actually do? But we don't equate the gym with real life. We don't equate, like if you've ever had a child on your lap and you stand up from a chair, that's a weighted squat. And so for some reason, as soon as we get in the gym, we just dump everything that we're capable of doing. We don't realize we do it every day inside the house. If you have a dog, you're probably picking up 40-pound bags of dog food off the shelf at Walmart. But we don't think about that when we're in the gym for some reason. We look at the weights and we're like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, no, stop that.
Stop. Right.
You are absolutely strong. You're absolutely capable.
And it's that mentality of changing the I can't to I'd like to try.
Exactly.
Or
what if I can?
what if I can?
Yeah. Try it.
If I could.
What if?
And that brings us to accountability, because so much of what you and I do is being that accountability partner for someone, whether it's in the nutrition realm or fitness realm, or there's so much crossover there. But my goodness, we need someone to encourage us in a positive way. Sometimes we need someone to be a little more tough love. That's not my favorite. A little more direct, but also setting those realistic goals so you can hit your goals and feel the benefit of that win. And that's something that we do in nutrition, certainly something that we do in training together, but the accountability is super important. Which brings us to, in the Thrive Nutrition RDN Facebook group, I asked the group what questions they had for Sandi. If you could ask a personal trainer anything, what would they be? And FYI, you can join our Facebook group. I am dropping the link to join down below in the description. So the first question was, if you're short on time, which isn't everyone, we're all the busiest person in the whole world, but if you're short on time and you want to carve out some time for some strength training, what are some key moves or key muscles to focus on to make the most impact?
The top three, like I mentioned before, do a chest exercise, a back exercise, and a leg exercise. So when we're talking in the realm of resistance training, your big three are squat, press, and deadlift. Squat, bench press, and deadlift. However, those are not always safe for our population. If you have back issues, knee issues, if you're a little bit on the, more past middle age, which I can say, I don't consider myself older. I'm just like past middle age. But
everybody has an issue there. Yep.
So find a movement that hits those muscle groups, which are your three biggest, most important muscle groups to keep your body in balance and to build that lean mass, to build that bone density. And if you're short on time, pick one and take it to failure. If you have to do 6 or 8 sets, I think there's also a misconception that you have to do all the exercises all at once in one workout. And your workout has to be 2 hours or you're not getting it done.
Spend over an hour in the gym or it's worthless.
In fact, I tell my clients, just because I've programmed, maybe 6 different exercises for you to accomplish in this hour, a couple warm-ups, a couple light movements, and some big compound movements. If you get into the squat rack and maybe your first 3 sets, knees are kind of cranky and creaky and a little tight, back's kind of, but you take it light those first 3 sets. And by your 4th set, you're like, oh, that felt really good. And I still have more in the tank. Don't stop. Just keep going. That's when I said, listen to your body. Sometimes we take a little bit longer for our bodies to click into gear and get on board with our program,
Yeah. A little more stretching beforehand now. Yeah.
But if you can only get in and do one exercise, do it well, do it heavy, do it safely, but do it heavy. Work your body as much as you can with that one exercise. If you've got 20 minutes, go do 20 minutes.
And it still counts. It still matters.
And if or a superset, which means you're not resting in between your exercises, maybe you're going to do take 3 machines that are right next to each other, maybe a machine row, a machine press, and maybe leg extension. And you're going to do 10 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps, rest a minute. You're going to go back and do 10 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps. And maybe you get 3 sets done, but you've worked every muscle, every major muscle group in your body, and you've gotten it accomplished in maybe 20 to 30 minutes. Just whatever you do to the best of your ability, give it 100%, lift heavy, make sure you feel like these muscles are tired.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
So whatever time you can dedicate towards it is going to make a difference. Just like we said, those small changes. Okay. This question comes from my darling husband. How can a husband encourage his wife to do more, lift heavier without coming across as the military officer? But and this can relate to other couples or friends as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a friend who's super fit helping a friend who's just starting out. How do you encourage someone without hurting their feelings?
And that's such a valid question. The first thing is, I will tell you, if it's your spouse that you're working out with, it's very hard to listen to your spouse. We don't listen to each other. We love each other so much. And we really want to do great things for each other, but we don't listen to each other. My husband told me things for years and I would just ignore him. But my coach told me, and all of a sudden it's gossip. He's like, I've been telling you that for years. I told you so. When I work with clients, and it's the same type of situation, although they don't know me, but I always tell clients, like, your form looked excellent. You stayed in a steady rhythm. Your breathing really didn't change much. Everything looks good. How did it feel? First thing I'm going to say is, how did it feel? Because what I see may not be what they're actually feeling. Maybe they felt like they were a 9 out of 10 for difficulty. But for me, it looked like they were like a 5 out of 10. But I need them to vocalize to me, like, how did that feel? It felt good. I felt strong with that. It felt fine. Or it was a little challenging towards the end. And then I'll ask, or I'll say, everything that I saw looked really good. And I feel like you could do a little bit more. And I would never suggest that you do unless I'm 100% confident that you can. They always have the final say so. Don't let anybody ever push you into something that's unsafe. And especially if you're talking about going up in weight, don't forget there's little 2.5 pound plates in the gym.
Oh, heck yeah. I use those. I do.
magical because yes, you're increasing the load on your muscles. You're increasing the load without risking. You don't want to make a 20-pound jump because that could lead to an injury.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I can do a little more. And then you feel good because you went up in weight, but
And
it's
if you went
doable.
up 2.5, that's, you can get there next time and then you're going to 2.5 more. And it's those little changes that end up to the 20-pound over time. But I'll ask them. And one of the ways I say it, I'm like, let's just take it for a test drive for 2 reps, just a test drive. And if anything feels bad, we'll stop right away. So I'm giving them permission to, like, if it doesn't feel okay, we'll stop. But are you willing to just try it? It's like that one no thank you bite with your kids. You don't have to eat the whole plate of beets, but I want you to take a little tiny bite. I want you to taste it. And then if they taste it, I'm like, oh, it's not so bad. I'll take another bite. I may not finish the plate, but let's take it for a test drive. And usually they don't stop at 2 because we all have this magic number of 10 in our head.
Yeah.
We keep going. Another way is, I think a lot of women typically are scared to try new weight or heavy weight because what if I fail?
Mhm.
But what if you don't? But if the what if I fail is the only thing that's holding you back, then learn to fail safely, because failure is the best word in the gym. You want to get to failure because that's when you're pushing your body past normal. That's where it's recognizing that this isn't what we normally do and we need to up our game. And that's where the muscle growth is going to come from. If you're always lifting weights that you can do for 10 reps with no problem, there's not going to be any changes done. You're in a rut. When you challenge your body to where you can't get that last rep, or you're like, on that last rep, that's perfect. That's what we want. We want failure. Failure is a good word, but you need to learn how to fail safely. So maybe have your partner or spouse show you how to drop the weight safely, and what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If you try to pick something up and you can't, you just put it back down and you adjust the weight back where you can, or maybe cut that increment that you tried, cut it in half. See if you can do that. And if you can't that day, that's okay. You tried, you failed, which is good. Which is
right.
really good.
Changing that mindset. Failure in the gym can be a good thing.
It's amazing. That's where the magic happens. That's what I tell my clients.
I saw this stat somewhere, and I don't know if there's research behind this, but the stat was that most people, men and women, only put out about 70% of what they can actually do when they work out in the gym. And that kind of hit me because I thought, well, I'm thinking like about my workouts and routines. Yeah, this one I'm about 70. This other one, maybe I'm more 80 to 90, but I can do more and work harder and then actually see more
But
benefits.
most people will not get themselves to where they can't complete a rep. They will always stay at the weight that they can complete 10. And guess what? If you only get 7, awesome. You succeeded. If you only get 4 to 6 reps because you went up in weight, awesome. But I think most people are afraid to get to that point because, oh, the bar is going to crush me, or the weight, if you're on a Nautilus machine, it's just going to come back to the starting point.
Right.
You're not going to hurt yourself.
That's
If you're
not you.
exactly, ask for a spot. Most people will help you out without question. Learn how to drop your dumbbells. Guess what? They're going to make a thunk when they hit the floor. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Practice it with light weights so that when you get to the point where you failed, you know how to tuck your elbows in and throw your dumbbells. Set the rails up on the squat rack to where if you get down and you can't get up, because there are people who are like, well, I don't know if I could have completed that last rep. Great, try it anyway. Go down, because there's benefit in the half of the movement. Even if you can't get the last half, then the rails catch your barbell. But think about, how can I set up to fail safely? And then go for failure. Challenge yourself to go for failure. See what that feels like. Because when you get there, and then the next time you can get that one more rep, and you get that one more rep, and then finally you hit 10, you're like, done.
Then you see those gains. And that brings us to focusing on the progressive overload, which isn't really in most of our minds. It's like, okay, I do the 10. I do 3 rounds of 10, and then I go to the other machine, and that one I can do 4 rounds of 10. But we just kind of have the 10 in our mind. And if you did that, I don't know, for a month, would you see much in terms of the gains? No. No. So progressive overload, knowing when to increase our reps or weights, just continuing, like we said, building upon those small changes.
Yeah. And it's not just about the weights or just about the reps, this combination. More reps with lightweight doesn't do you any more good than lifting a few reps with heavy weight.
I'm so glad you brought that up. After I had my twins in Germany, was like looking for an at-home workout, and there's a very famous like Hollywood trainer, and she's all about using the like 3-pound weights. And so I would do those things, and I never felt like I did.
You'll get your heart rate up.
Yes. And she was all about you don't go over 3 pounds. And so I did it for a little bit, and then it was like, this just isn't it. It's not.
It has to be that sweet spot. And what I tell people is if maybe you don't have a spotter that day, maybe it's not safe for you to throw on another couple pounds on the bench press or with your dumbbells or whatever, because you don't have a spotter, then take the heaviest weight you feel comfortable managing and try to get 2 or 3 more reps, or do a drop set, which means you start with the heaviest weight you're comfortable doing on your own. And then you do 10 reps with that. And then you drop it 5 or 10 pounds and you do 10 more reps. Maybe you drop it 5 or 10 more pounds and you do 10 more reps. I guarantee you, by the time you get to that light weight at the bottom of your set, you're going to be exhausted and your muscles are going to be like crushed. And it's in a good way, but it's safe.
I love that feeling, because then it's like you did something.
Yeah. Progression of resistance training does not mean you have to add more weight all the time. Sometimes it's changing the way you do it. Maybe you're going to pause at the bottom of your bench press for 2 seconds and then try to push out of it. That'll change it all up. Time under tension, drop sets, supersets, pause reps. There's all kinds of ways to progress your exercise. So instead of just increasing weight, because like I have a shoulder replacement. So I have a titanium joint for shoulder now, and I can only lift so much because I don't want to destroy my new shoulder. So, but I know how to use the heaviest weight I'm allowed to do and make the most out of it with doing different things to keep my shoulder healthy, but still build muscle mass.
Amazing. So that brings us to it's never too late. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think we get to a certain age where it's like, well, I am who I am. This is who I am. I'm not going to change. Or I'm, I wouldn't see the benefits of anything at this age. But then you see the little video of the 75-year-old woman crushing some squats or something. And it's like, oh my goodness, it is never too late. I love those.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want to be her when I'm, 80 or whatever it is.
And it's funny. I look at my 33-year-old self and the mindset that I had before I started my journey. And I truly, and this is like, I can't even believe I thought this, but I was so lost. I thought I was so far gone. I thought I was hopeless and a lost cause that I thought, you know what, I'll just gain another 50 pounds because I know how to do that. And then I'll be a candidate for gastric bypass. No one is ever too far gone. No one. I don't care what your weight or shape or condition is, you are never too far gone to start. And you just got to start small.
Start small and start somewhere. Use the tips that Sandi has shared today. And you're never too old or too young. I think with kids, I've got young kids, and just showing them, Dev and I have been doing weights, but also we have this little push-up challenge we've been
Love it.
And my littlest one, who's 7, is super into it. And then he uses my phone as his little timer. And like, it's just something small, but it's building those habits in your brain that like, this is fitness or health is part of what we do in our daily life. And it's not something that's so far out there or weird or anything like that.
Yeah.
Building those habits. And then as you age, like it just helps you with your longevity. All right, Sandi, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about women and weights and just how impactful this can be in our lives. And not just women, men too. I hope that all these tips resonate with everyone, and certainly your story is one that, it inspires me. It's inspired my clients. So I'm so happy to have you here, especially my first in-person. Thanks for coming to my house. Sandi and I are neighbors, for those of you who don't know, and we have lots of similar philosophies in terms of nutrition and health and fitness, and it's just a joy to talk with you today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And don't forget about checking out the Colorado Springs Health and Fitness Expo. I'm dropping a link to her event down in the description. And now that you've heard all the tips about strength and you're ready to fuel yourself the proper way, I've got a meal prep video that is perfect for you. So click the video on your screen right now, and I will see you over there. Until then, eat well, be well, and thrive.